Okay, the temperature at sunrise is 65 degrees Fahrenheit, and each hour during the day the temperature rises by 5 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're going to write an equation that models the temperature, y in degrees Fahrenheit, after x hours during the day. So x is going to be the independent variable, and we are going to do something to x to make it result in y. Now, an interesting thing that happens here is that when x is 0, 0 hours have passed, you have that initial temperature of 65 degrees. So we're going to have an equation that is modeled by y equals something x. We're going to multiply x by something. We'll talk about what that is in a second. But when it's 0, we're going to have 0 times whatever that coefficient is, equaling 0. So in order for the resulting number to be 65, we have to add 65 at the end. Now, every hour it goes up by 5, so we have the number 5 here as the multiplier or the coefficient. And since the temperature is rising instead of dropping, that's going to be a positive 5 instead of a negative 5. So we've got this as an equation. I'm going to pause it right here, and I'm going to write in the units on the x and y axis for the graph. Just a moment. Okay, so I've chosen 5-degree increments on the y-axis going up. The temperature is going to increase by 5 degrees every hour, so I've chosen 5 as the unit for each box, and I've chosen every 2 boxes I'm going to make an hour. I'm familiar with how graphs, how the numbers work, and I know that I'm going to be able to fit my graph most nicely into my my graph line into my graph by using this. Every 2 boxes is 1 hour. We'll get more familiar with that as we make some graphs. But the first thing that we need to do is, oh, and by the way, I labeled it time in hours. It's a little bit shifted over because of the position of my controls on this recording app. And then the temperature in degrees Fahrenheit. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to place our y-intercept. Notice that the y-intercept says 65 degrees. So I'm going to go up here to 65, and I'm going to put a point. That's where our graph line is going to cross the y-axis. Now, every time I go up by 1 hour, I'm going to increase 5 degrees. So as I go over to 1, I'm going to increase by 5 degrees here. And I go over again to 2, and I'm going to increase by another 5 degrees. And I can do that over and over, increasing 5 degrees for every hour. And if I am doing this correctly, you will see it all falling nicely in a line. And as you can see, we do, sorry. So like that, I can do better. And finally there. And so I'm going to take my little line drawing tool, and I'm going to make a red line. I'm going to start it here. I'm going to drag it up, and then I'm just going to adjust it a little bit to make sure that it's exactly where I want it to be, going all the way through each point and all the way down to the axis. And of course, I could put an arrow on both ends. The trick with putting an arrow on both ends is, for this particular situation with temperature, I don't know what's going to continue to happen later on after 7 hours, because temperature goes up and then it goes down again. So if it climbs for every 5 degrees, I can't guarantee that after that 7 hours, it's going to continue with this trend. But I guess I got to put it because they didn't even tell me to go for 7 hours each time. We really are just picking numbers that we wanted to put. So let's put them. If they gave us a table, we'd know better what it does exactly. But notice this. Because my slope is 5, that means that every time I go from one point to another point, as you can see me doing here, I'm going from a point that I know. I'm rising 5 because this is every box is 5 units, and I'm running 1 because 2 boxes makes 1 unit in the run or the x direction. So rise 5, run 1. That's my slope, and it's got an intercept, or it crosses the y-axis at 65. That's how you're going to do it, and you're done. This does both parts. It says write an equation that models the temperature y in degrees Fahrenheit after x hours, and then what is the graph. So we've got both parts, and we are done with this video.